Hey, what's going on, guys? So, this is going to be the third live stream I've done so far, and in it, we're going to talk about what is the Beast of Revelation, what is the mark of the beast. Now, I'm going to use pretty much only the Bible to prove and answer both these claims of what they are. Now, clearly, deciphering who the beast is going to require going outside of the Bible because the Bible never exactly specifically says who it is, but we can deduce it through the time period it was and the writings of the Bible in of itself. Now, some of the cool things that I like about this is if you look at the book of Revelation as occurring mostly in the time of the apostles, it makes a lot more sense. Though the book of Revelation obviously extends to today and towards the end of time, it also very much applied to the Christians of those time, around 50, 60 AD, whenever you really believe that the book of Revelation and the Bible was compiled. So that's something that's really cool that I like about it. And that's something we're going to discuss today. I mostly want to discuss this too because there's a lot of misconceptions online about who is the beast, what is the beast, is he the Antichrist, has he not come? And I'll be very honest with you, the beast is dead. The beast has been dead for 2,000 years. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't moments of beasts like the beast, as it might be weird to say, but it doesn't mean that there hasn't been moments of those creatures and people who are demonic essentially taking over and fighting against people. There clearly has been. So this is something that I really want to discuss with and talk to people about and just kind of educate and get people an understanding with. So let's start off with Revelation 13:16. This is the first. Actually, let's start with what the mark of the beast actually is, because I think that's something that's very important for people today. A lot of people will tell you that the mark of the beast is a jabba jabba ding dong. It's a vaccine, we'll just flat out call it. That it's something that you implant in you, or it's going to be a chip that they implant with Bitcoin. That's the only way you can buy or sell, that they're going to get rid of all of cash. Well, to be blatantly honest with you, they kind of have already gotten rid of cash. I mean, be honest with yourselves and be honest with people who are around you and younger, especially younger people, who is the age of under the age of 40 even uses a lot of cash. Nobody. Almost nobody who's under the age of 40 uses a lot of cash. People who are above 40, those are predominantly your cash-based people, but even then, there's a lot of people who use credit cards. So cash is kind of gone already. I mean, credit cards essentially killed that, but nobody's going to go out there and say, "Oh yeah, that's the mark of the beast is a credit card." Even though in a sense you can make the argument with the way people spend and sell their stuff and use credit cards that it is. So this is something that I think is important for people to understand is that the mark of the beast, what it actually is, and let's try to decipher it. So in Revelation 13:16, this is also what talks about with the beast. Let me grab it real quick. I'm using the Dewey Rames Bible. So Revelation 13:16, it says, "And he shall make all, both little, great, rich, and poor, free men and bondmen, to have character in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man shall be able to buy or sell, but he hath the character or the name of the beast, or the number of the name. Here is wisdom that hath understood. Let him count the number of the beast, for it is the number of the man. The number of him is 666. Now, clearly that's pretty obviously saying that the mark of the beast is going to be in the hand and the forehead, as well as the mark of the beast is going to be on what is being sold, and they're not going to be able to buy and sell using it. So, what is the mark of the beast? We're going to use two Bible passages from the Old Testament in order to prove what the mark of the beast actually is. And you got to understand too that when the Bible was written and the people who was written it for wasn't necessarily for Gentiles entirely, though obviously Gentiles can learn. This is obviously was written predominantly for the Jewish audience of the time because that's who they were trying to mass convert at the time. Now they're obviously trying to convert Gentiles as well, but predominantly they were focusing on Jews and obviously the Jewish culture. So a lot of that's going to flow into the New Testament as well as the verbiage and what people are discussing. So we're going to go to Exodus 13:9. Exodus 13:9. All right, in Exodus 13:9, it says, "And it shall be a sign in thy hand, and as a memorial before thy eyes, and that the law of the Lord be always in thy mouth, for with a strong hand, and the Lord hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt." So the sign of the Lord is going to be on your hand, as well as they want it to be in your mind as well, and before your eyes. Meaning to keep the Lord's law in your mind, in your mouth, and in your heart, which is why Catholics would do that in every Catholic Mass. So keeping the law of the Lord is going to be in your hand, in your heart, and your mind. You might go, well, I don't really know about that. That seems a little bit out there. You're trying to say that the mark of the beast is a spiritual one. Yes, I am making that argument, but I have another Bible verse, which I will use right here to definitively prove that it's not just quote mining and trying to use other parts of the Bible. I'm going to use this to try to prove that it is a spiritual mark that people will take upon them. And the mark of the beast is kind of, excuse me, the mark of the beast is kind of an eternal thing. And let me try to prove that as well right here. So I'm going to Deuteronomy 11:18. So Deuteronomy 11:18. Lay up these my words in your hearts and minds, and hang them for a sign in your hands, and place them between your eyes. I'm going to say it one more time. Lay up these my words in your hearts and minds, and hang them for a sign on your hands, and place them between your eyes. So Deuteronomy and Deuteronomy 11:18. That's the verse I just read. Essentially, it's telling you to keep the law of the Lord in your hand, in your heart, and in your mind. What is the mark of the beast? It's a mark in your hand and in your mind. So what is the mark of the beast? It's worshiping a false god. What false god was people predominantly worshiping that is of the man? It's the pagan Roman emperor. What did people sell and buy with in the Roman Empire? The gold coins that had the Roman emperor's sigil on it. And the Roman emperor wasn't just an emperor. He demanded to be worshipped as a god, not just as a man, not just as an emperor. Don't give me honor and respect as a man. Give me honor and respect as a god, quote unquote. That's what they wanted. So the mark of the beast definitely was the money and the coinage that people had upon that they seldom bought, because you couldn't buy or sell in the Roman Empire unless you had the gold or whatever coinage that had the emperor's sigil or face put on it as well. So that's the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is essentially worshiping a false god and taking and selling and buying during that time. So that is what the mark of the beast is. It's not going to be a technological thing. Now, there is maybe in the future you'll have to worship another false god. Well, you don't have to, but people will worship a false god. That may be something else, but this is for what that predominantly they were writing with at that time. That the mark of the beast is a spiritual one that you're going to put on yourself. Many times Christians would fight against the incense that the Roman Empire wanted them to do to give homage, to say that the Roman Emperor was a god. Christians would say, no, we don't want to. And so it's okay. It's just a symbol. Christians would still resist it, because that is still taking the mark of the beast upon yourself, not keeping the law of the Lord in your hand and between your mind. No, it's turning your back on that for man and for man's money. So that's what the mark of the beast is. Now, what is the beast? Now, I want to say this right away and just be very honest with people. The beast is not the Antichrist. The beast is not the Antichrist. The beast is a powerful being who's very evil, but the beast is not the Antichrist. Now, where do I get that from? Well, let's use the Bible, for example. Revelation 13:16, it talks about the beast. It names it the beast with number 666 on it. Now, who wrote that? The book of Revelation was written by the Apostle John. What other apostles or what other books in the Bible did John write? He mostly wrote the book of Revelation and the three apostles of John, or the three books of John, or several books of John. Now, in John, he mentions the Antichrist by name. 1 John 22:22. Who is the liar but the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This is the Antichrist, the one who denies the Father and the Son. 1 John 4:3. And every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of Antichrist, of which you have heard that it is coming, and now it is already in the world. 1 John 2:18. Children, it is the last hour. People who are obsessed with the apocalypse, John even wrote that this is the last hour because technically it is the later days after Jesus Christ's crucifixion. We're probably going to live a shorter time period than people did in the Old Testament, but it is the last days because we're closer to the end than we were before Jesus Christ's crucifixion. It's the last hour. And just as you heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have appeared. From this, we know that it is the last hour. Now, you might be going, okay, well, he's talking about the Antichrist. But why in the book of Revelation did John not talk about the Antichrist? Why did he call them the beast? Not the man of lawlessness, not the Antichrist. He called him the beast. Because the beast and the Antichrist are two different beings. If John wrote that, he would have just said, the Antichrist comes, his number is 666, and he will ride. No, he essentially differentiated the two of them. Now, why is the beast's number 666? And who is the beast? Well, the beast is going to make war with the saints. Who at the time period that John wrote this, around 60 AD, who made war with the saints the most? It's the Roman Empire. Who had the blood of the saints on them? It's the Roman Empire. This is also another proof for why the book of Revelation and much of the Bible being done before probably 66 AD, 60 AD, maybe around that's when it was written. Definitely before 66 AD, because the beast that it is mentioned is Emperor Nero. Emperor Nero was the beast. Even though Emperor Nero is remembered as the fifth Roman emperor, he technically was the sixth Caesar, because if you count Julius Caesar, he was the sixth. And if you take Emperor Nero's name in Latin and you do the, I think, numerology or whatever it is with it, it comes up with the number 666 for Augustus Nero. Or I'm sorry, for Nero Caesar, or Caesar Nero. It comes up with 666. He was the sixth Roman emperor. In the year 67 or 68 AD, after the fire of 66 AD in the Roman Empire, he killed both Peter and Paul, the two saints. So he had the blood of the saints on his hands predominantly. Now, his name being 666 is very much that mark. So the Emperor Nero Caesar was the beast, and Emperor Nero Caesar has been dead for almost 2,000 years now that we were talking about this. So it's not as if though Emperor Nero, and also too, if you ever read St. Robert Bellarmine's on the Antichrist, he specifically talks about that as well, and talks about what the beast is and what it is not. So the beast is Emperor Nero, as well as the pagan Roman Empire, because even after Emperor Nero's death, there's many saints who are murdered and martyred because of them. Now, specifically, I do think that's the best argument for Emperor Nero being the beast, is because 666 was his name in anagram, as well as the amount of blood that he shed for Christians. I mean, after the fires of Rome in 66 AD, he started his mass persecution of Christians, even lighting them on fire while he eats a candlelit dinner, watching them burn. So he also killed Peter and Paul, the two apostles. So those are huge indications to me that Emperor Nero was the Antichrist. It fits all the other ways. And even in Hebrew, if you take his name, Nero Caesar, and you do the Hebrew numerology for it, it comes up with the number 616, which is what some translations translate it as, 616. Even though I would say it's probably closer if it's, say, 666. So that is the number of the Antichrist. Or I'm sorry. I just said he wasn't. But that is the number of the beast, and that is what the Antichrist actually is. So the Antichrist and the beast are two different beings, simply due to the fact that if John, who wrote wrote the books of John, he named the Antichrist specifically in those, but he didn't name him specifically in the book of Revelation, meaning that the beast and the Antichrist are two different beings. So that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else here? No. Okay. Well, I think that's all I have for you today. If you have other questions too, there's all great Catholic answers. Uh, Post, look up who is the beast, and it literally says exactly the same things that I'm reiterating here, that the beast is Emperor Nero. So we don't have to worry about the beast coming from the sea with seven hills, because Rome was built on seven hills, or has seven hills with it. So that's another proof of the seven hills being that of Rome. And this is just what I want to talk about today, with Emperor Nero being the beast, the mark of the beast being a spiritual mark that you take upon yourself when you deny Jesus Christ, or when you worship a false Messiah, which is actually what the Antichrist will be. The Antichrist is not just a bad guy. The Antichrist will be somebody who claims to be the Jewish Messiah and wants to be worshipped as a god. That is what the Antichrist will be. And when he is en masse, not just a good amount, but en masse worshipped as such, then we probably are in really the final days. So this is what I want to talk about. But I also want to tell people this, just because I see a lot of people really worried about the end of times, a lot of evangelicals talking about the beast, talking about the Antichrist, talking about the end of times, the rapture, everything all the time. And I just want to tell them that there is a high possibility everybody living today will never see the end of the world. That is far more likely that most people will live and will die a normal life, quote unquote, than have to see the Antichrist and see the end of the world. And honestly, probably be grateful, even if we live a very harsh life, that we never will see the Antichrist, because he will be truly the man of lawlessness, truly a despicable man, way worse than the Emperor Nero was, not even close. So be grateful that we never will have, well, hopefully we'll never have to see them, more than likely, because it will be a bloody and harsh and ruthless time. So let's just be thankful for what we have, and let's focus on our lives right now, because tomorrow you could die. Every moment after your birth, you're 1 second closer to your death. So let's be thankful, let's be happy, let's be gracious, and let's be kind. And let's take our lives seriously, because the end of your days is always getting closer and closer and closer after every second. I kind of a crazy way to end it, but hope you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you learned something, and thank you, and God bless. Bye.